This is Frankie Abbruzzino with the Scoop News. Okay, I took the meeting and I've broken it down to 3 sections. This is the meeting regarding the pier. I took the video and I'll give you a link so you can watch it all if you want, but sometimes it gets dry. I took where in the beginning, public hearing, where the owner of Sharky's came in saying, you know, basically coming after the council saying you're not running your house good. And then we hop over to where the engineer, city engineer, Kathy Wiederman, I think was her last name. She talks about what is needed. She covers the issue where people, you know, that one site that Mike Sissel brought up stating that the pier should outlast the category 4, she says was incorrect. And she goes into that. Then I'm going to jump into another screen where we talk about Hollick and his suggestion that at the very end, when they're all talking, finally, when they wrap it up, he'll say, well, maybe what we should do is put a sign up and say, no fishing, you can walk and enjoy it. So hopefully this will all transition well. So let's go ahead and start with the first one right now.
Welcome. Good morning. Mike Prosciutto.
This is Mike Prosciutto.
Really, am I at a loss for words? This morning, I'm at a loss for words. Pier's closed.
Just give us a check.
I know. I already did for $700,000.
Got another one?
And you had in the budget, you had a parking lot. You had, for 3 years, I've been talking about doing a pier fund, and nothing. How do you run your house? I mean, do you save money and then just kind of spend it on whatever comes along, or do you plan? I mean, I'm at a loss for words. So you know we're gonna lose rent. You're gonna lose rent money, right? Because the pier is closed. Do you know that? You don't know that. People come to the pier, to the restaurant and to the pier. We're on a half-hour wait. What are they gonna do? They walk on the pier. It's closed. There's just not a reason to come. So there's going to be people that aren't going to come. No big deal, right? Okay. So it's been good for 30 years. Okay. It's what happens when things get tough that make your marriage work or not work. Right? If your marriage is going along fine, there's no big deal. It's when you hit a rough spot, that's when you have to decide whether you want to be together or not. All right. Hurricanes, closed pier. I think you guys ought to make your budgets, stick to your plans, and things will work out a lot better.
Thanks.
Okay, so that was Mr. Pacoda, and sorry, I got to transition there. Now this next screen, I'm gonna try to go to a full screen. I thought singing Pacoda was less, so I just kept it on the try screen. So we're gonna go to this. This is Kathy Wiederman. She's a city engineer, and she talks about the short-term fix, how they'll need to shut it down for maybe a couple months when the snowbirds are gone after tourist season, and then she talks about that category 4, and then we're going to pop over to another screen. So let's go ahead. Let me get that set up real quick. Boom. And let's get going over to there.
I did. Kathleen Whedon, city engineer. But we have good news. Our structural engineer team finished their evaluation of the fishing pier. And what they have found is that although they would like us to aggressively approach replacing the decking and the railings as quickly as possible, he said within the next 10 months for certain should be completed. They have identified, after doing load testing, diving the pier, verifying that the concrete structure is intact. There's been no damage to that. It appears the stringers underneath the wood decking are also intact. In most locations, we won't know until we pull off the decking for sure. But he has recommended that we could do an intermediate repair on the pier to get it reopened. That would include replacing about 12 of the decking planks that are basically too soft to be functional and support load. and tightening up all of the railings. In order to tighten the railings, you have to pop off the bottom decks, reach under to get a wrench. You need to go out over the side. So I'd like to execute an emergency contract to have them go out there and do the repairs as quickly as possible. That would allow us to reopen the pier while we go and get bids to do the formal reconstruction. It would allow us to wait until season was over before we had to close the pier down for 60 to 90 days to do the redecking and the replacement of the rails. So I think both of those would be my recommendation that council, if it's in council's in agreement, that we move forward. I do have the contractor who constructed the pier has a crew available now because they're waiting on materials for one of the other pier reconstructions. They are a local Venice company located right here just off the island, and they would be able to bring crews out. I can meet with them tomorrow morning and get a finalized price, and if their price appears reasonable based on what we anticipate the work to be, then the city manager would be able to authorize that if it's considered emergency repair. Otherwise, I have to go through the three quote process, and it would go a bit further, but it depends on whether, I see this as critical to getting this pier back reopened.
Does it require the council, because the funding is already approved for the council
Right.
already approved the 700,000 to make the appropriation. This is it satisfies requirements for emergencies.
Yeah, it would
You
just
don't have
be.
to bring it back.
Yeah, it would just be, this would be the decision of whether to try to intermediately fix the pier and open it through season, which would be my recommendation, or to keep it closed until we can get a contractor out there, which is probably 60 days at least.
All right, the contract would go right to the mayor.
Right, because it would be under the threshold. We wouldn't have to go back to council.
Mr. Fraze?
Kathleen, when that was built, was that built to a category 2, 3, 4, 5?
Well, we don't build it to a hurricane category because hurricanes have wind and storm surge and all those. It's built to a 50-year storm surge and so that is a different criteria. What it does is it would be able to handle a 50-year storm surge return, and the foundation has performed as anticipated. It did weather the storm, the elevating of the structure. Whenever you have a wood or composite material on a decking, it just does weird weather over time. We did have some problems with the decking material. It was purchased with a very good warranty. It's like 25-year warranty on the decking. About 6 years into it, we started seeing some unusual wear and some inconsistency. We contacted the manufacturer and they were out of business. So a warranty only does as good as the manufacturing company that you use. The structural engineer has looked at several different materials. He has chosen what he feels is the most appropriate for longevity and for performance. It's the same material that was used at most of the newer piers that have been built and the Disney pier type structures that they do at Walt Disney World as well. He also has designed pigeon deterrent of stainless steel wire mesh that will be welded in place in order to resolve the pigeon issue we have, and looking at the bait cleaning stations to be out over the water instead of over the deck, where that causes more problems with the decking. So it did perform. The foundation performed as needed. The remainder was a warranty manufacturing issue that was exacerbated by all the rain and wind that we had.
Okay, so if you caught that, basically Kathy came in and said, look, we can do these repairs right away, maybe $20,000, and then we'll have to close it down after tourist season, and that may be 30 to 60 days for more extensive repairs. In regards to that Michael Cecil thing where he was reading off a site, and I'm not sure I've seen the site, and I'm not sure if it's a government site, city site. I think it's actually this Sharkey Pier Group site, which manages the pier, said that it was built to withstand a Category 4. But now Wiederman's saying, no, that's not true, that it was built to outlast a 50-year surge. Well, it's only been 13 years, but they're saying that it lived up to that. So I don't. Maybe this was a once in a lifetime 50-year surge that got it. I don't know what the understanding is there. She also covered on the some of the issues with the company going out of warranty, which is an issue there, and moving the bait. You're going to hear this on the next show, on the next part, where Hollick was concerned because he was going in on how people are cleaning their fish and just leaving it there, and it's a mess. So this one would put it over the water. So let's go ahead. Let me get that next screen set up real quick. And this is them debating it, where you hear some Hollick and all those guys go into different jibber jabbers. Actually, I think I have to play this one a little bit more. So let's do a split screen. And let's make this large. And let me see.
It accelerated the
You can go out there almost any given day when they're
All right, 1 second.
at least a mile buckets of blood from any fund
Right.
or boardwalk fund or any other beachfront fund that we need.
All right, here we are. We're gonna start it, and I'm gonna put you on a split screen or a full screen, so it looks better.
Front repairs that we need. That could have easily been done because it wasn't revenue that we were seeing at that time. That was surplus revenue that came in. We didn't do it, and I think that was a very big mistake. All of it doesn't have to go into the general fund. Some of it can go into replacement fund. The other thing I think that we should look at, and I think has become much more front burner than it was, is charging money to use the pier. We borrowed money from our residents, or not from our residents, we borrowed money and asked our residents to pay back that money. Our residents to pay back that money. Once we did that, we stopped charging to go on the pier. I'm totally in favor of the residents not having to pay to go on the pier. Totally in favor of it. They're paying back the bond now. But the vast majority of people that go out on the pier are not residents of Venice. And you heard Mr. Pashota this morning state that when that pier was rebuilt, the bait shack was purposely set at about halfway out so that could be the point where you stop people from going any further. If somebody wants to just walk out on the pier, I'd always be in favor of saying, go ahead and walk out on the pier. Go ahead, come back. I don't care if you're a resident or not. But if you're going to go out there to fish, and we paid for that with our tax dollars, we're paying for it with our tax dollars, and you're not a resident of the city of Venice, you should be contributing toward that pier, toward maintenance of the pier, toward the upkeep of the pier. We're not doing that. We have the ability to do it. We have someone that can sit there and collect that money. Right now at the bait shop, all we need to do is install a gate. You're walking out on the pier, you want a view, go ahead. You want to go out and fish, pay for it. We need to register those people. We heard about the destruction, the damage.
Okay, so right there, you heard he wants to charge not city residents but non-residents, and he makes a good argument there. But a lot of people will disagree with that. So what he's going to go into now is registering. And he wants to register who's walking out there, which is a bit of a big brother approach. So let's listen to that real quick.
To the pier, holes being drilled in it. We need to know who's out there to hold them accountable for damages that might occur. I think we need to find out, and Madam Attorney, this is probably your baby again, what can we legally do? I've been told that we can't stop fishing of a specific species, that only FWC can do that.
Yeah, and you got to stop a specific species. I mean, come on. How are you going to regulate that? How are you going to regulate the fishing? Now, what he's going to go into is timelines, not allowing people out there after a certain amount of time, which is counterproductive because most sharks are late at night. A lot of kids, I know a lot of people that go out there and enjoy it late at night. The other thing is when they start covering this whole thing, you can't control the species they're kidding and stuff. He's going to talk about bloodletting or blood bathing, whatever the term is. Then he's going to go into, he's going to end it with, and I think he ends it after Daniels or Anderson talks. He comes back and says, that's where he says, let's just make it a walk and no fish area. And I thought, you might think he's being facetious, but when you look at him, you know he's being serious. So let me get you guys to a full screen. I just realized you weren't on that.
So we can't turn around and say no shark fishing on the pier, no Spanish mackerel fishing. You can't do that if it's a legal fish to catch. We can, I believe, limit fishing hours. If the damages are occurring after 10 o'clock in the evening, maybe we shouldn't have overnight fishing from the pier. Will that upset some people? Sure it will. But does it upset us when we have to put $80,000 worth of netting in to keep pigeons from roosting?
Now, here's the thing, guys. That $80,000 in netting to keep the pigeons from roosting wasn't from the freaking shark fishermen. I can tell you that. Everybody knows, if you follow the scoop, that was from because Sharky's has a pigeon problem. The patrons there didn't like eating there. They were poisoning them off at one point, I think. And it was a big controversy. And it was broke here on the scoop years ago. So that's when they put up this netting to kill the pigeons off and to try to deter the pigeons from going into Sharky's and bugging the people. That pigeon fish netting is not there because of shark fishing. I can tell you that. I never heard that until yesterday from this goofball. So let's go back to the lovely, I call him Mr. Weasel, Hollick. Hold on.
And the very next day, there's shark hooks in the netting and it's getting ripped down. You know, I hate to say it, but I just think that some of the things we're doing aren't the best things for the residents of Venice. I'm being told that there's blood baiting from the pier. Blood baiting is taking literally buckets of blood from animals and dumping it over the pier to attract sharks.
So I do have a question here. I don't know if there is blood baiting or what. I have no idea. But if you're out there and they're moving the area where you clean your fish and cut your fish and do all that stuff over the water, what's the difference of doing that and blood baiting? Isn't the blood going to go in the water? Call me crazy. Here we go. Okay.
I'm hearing there's chunning of the water from off the pier. Do we really want to draw sharks into an area where we have such a high concentration of people swimming?
Okay, maybe I should just put this on a split screen. Here, let's just do this because I could keep just stopping him instead of moving back and forth. Guys, I've been here. This pier has been here since I've been here. Now, when I first moved here in the early 80s, it was a piece of crap pier. Sharky's wasn't there. It was just a bathroom, blah, blah, blah. Sharks are going to be here no matter what. You know, you look just down the anywhere. There's bull sharks. I've seen bull sharks out at the jetty. Is there going to be a higher propensity? Possibly. But I think that's just bull. And his next line is it's going to be a real big issue when there's a shark attack here. And I think he even says it's been a speech, and he's attributing it to shark fishing off the pier, which I don't know if I'm buying into. So let's listen to this part.
It's only a matter of time that we're in the news for a shark attack on Venice Beach, and that's not really.
So now this idiot, this weasel, is using scare tactics. He's out there telling people it's a matter of time before there's a shark attack on the beach. So he's building on the fear of individuals, the fear of getting attacked by a shark, so that they'll buy into his action plan. Amazing. Mr. Weasel. Let's hear what else he has to say.
Positive news they have. I go up to Alaska quite often. Alaska is far, far less populated than is the Venice area, than is Sarasota. 600,000 people in the entire state. I'm in an area that's remote enough that you can go all day and not see someone. But you go out on a fishing trip, on a charter fishing trip, they come back in, they clean the fish, they have to take all the carcasses, all the innards, put them in a plastic bag, and they have to go at least a mile up.
Now here, this is the next part he's going to go into, where he goes on the pier and he's seeing people that are leaving carcass on the pier and not being respectful. That is an issue. You got to clean up after yourself. I've never personally seen that, and I've been on the pier several times.
out into the ocean to dump those carcasses. What do we do here? We clean the fish right on the pier, dump everything right in the water. Is that what we want to be swimming in? Granted, the crabs will eat it, but so do barracuda, so do shark. Yeah. Are we doing what's right for the people of the city of Venice? You can go out there.
And I gotta tell you, he even said earlier, most people that go out there to that Sharky's area, that beach, are non-citizen residents. So now he's playing on that fear again of the city residents, which he already stated are not the majority of the people that go out in the pier, in the water there. Most of us don't. Most of us go to Nicole's Beach.
Almost any given day when they're cleaning fish. And you can tell the people that are conscientious fishermen from the people that could really care less about the pier, about the city of Venice. You can see it by the way that the cleaning stations are cleaned off after they're done cleaning them.
So he's basically telling you, you don't care about the city of Venice if you're not cleaning your fish up to my standards. Since when is he the dictator of standards? What does he know is the appropriate or inappropriate manner for cleaning a fish? And how does that mean if I didn't clean it according to your standards because maybe the resources weren't there, or I don't know what the thing is, why does that mean I don't care about your lovely city of Venice?
Fish. Some of the people will be very conscientious and clean the stations off very well. Others will clean the fish and walk away and leave everything just sitting there. You know, those are things that we can control by having a pier master of types, which would be the person that's operating the bait station. Whenever he's not busy, all he needs to do is walk out on the pier for a second. If there's a problem, he calls the police. Doesn't have to be a law enforcement officer. He doesn't have to wear a badge. Just has to have a telephone.
Now, do you think that guy at the bait shop's going to want to do that? A, I don't know what the business setup deal with him. B, would you pay him more to do that? And C, is he going to want to be there and ratting out all these individuals, knowing that they're going to get pissed and come back and see possibly some of them will seek retribution? I don't know about that one.
But this is a lot of money. This is a $2 million pier. This is probably going to be a $700,000 repair. And we're going to be going.
Now, they just said that they don't know if it's going to be that much because the damage wasn't that extensive. Again, he's playing on that fear. He's playing on that fear concern that it might cost $700,000, but Wiederman said something different earlier.
Through it again, and we're going to be wondering, where are we going to get the money to do it? We're doing what? Is it $500,000 for the boardwalk for the other? Yes. That the county wants us to repair? $500,000 for another boardwalk at Service Club Park? We haven't put away any money for that. That's as much money for that boardwalk as a fire engine. And
Excellent point here. That boardwalk that the county wants repaired is as much as a fire engine. We have one fire truck that's just about breaking down, and we need actually two of them. So that $700,000 for this pier is just the amount that you're going to need for a fire engine. What's more important? Ensuring that Sharky's has revenue for tourism, or ensuring that people's lives are saved. And Deb Anderson's going to cover that next.
We've come to the point where we recognize that we have to set aside money for a fire engine.
How the guy's been in office 7 years. He's just coming to that point that you need to set aside money for fire trucks or necessities. This guy amazes me.
I haven't seen 1 cent set aside yet, nor anyone else suggest that we set aside money for things like a $500,000 boardwalk at Service Club Park, for a $700,000 pier.
Decide on this tonight? I mean,
No,
I've got you loud and clear, and I support you.
I don't think we can. I guess this board needs a lot more. I wanted to stop there and let us think about it all as a group and come back and visit it. There's just too much there I don't have all the answers. But boy, I sure have a lot of questions on it. Mr. Cotero?
Yeah, thank.
Okay, now we're going to jump over to another part where Deb Anderson picks up. And then I think it ends up with Hollick. So let's go right to that screen. Let me get it set up 1 second. And Go.
Beach Pier Fund, and you've got a lot of money coming in now from Sharkies, and you also hopefully will have enough, a few bucks coming in from the hot dog stand now, what we're sharing. And I'm not living on the ocean, but my daughter does. The problems, we can't pay for the fire department. We circumvented it. And so,
If I may,
I just finish here. I totally support earmarking money for things like this. That is, it's just like depreciation.
Let's see if we can
It's
go a
a
little bit
good-
further.
They were not contributing something to,
and just to see where it's coming from.
Hold on. All right,
Just
here we go.
one point of clarification, then I'll give it to you, Ms. Anderson. I disagree with you when you say if you're gonna set aside money for the pier, you're gonna be short somewhere else. The pier needs replacement, you're short already. So what's the difference if you would set aside $100,000 a year to repair the pier, and 7 years from now, you've got $700,000, and now you don't have to look to see where it's coming from, or you don't put any money aside, and 7 years from now, you need $700,000 and you're short. So, to earmark money for future projects is no different on the pier than it is to turn around and say you shouldn't pigeonhole it or earmark it. We shouldn't have a depreciation.
And again, guys, the biggest issue with this is how is it you have this money to repair this pier and not the money for a fire truck? Why is it so much more urgent to repair pier than it is to fix a fire truck to save lives? And I know everyone wants fishing. We want fishing. But if you had the power to do that to the pier, why weren't you doing that for a fire truck that was needed months ago? Why weren't you doing that for a firehouse has doors hanging months ago? Let's go back.
Fund. Then we shouldn't be thinking about buildings, roofs, and the rest of the projects, because all those things will fail over time.
Let's fast forward.
This is no different on the pier. Citizens
Probably do not deal with this on a daily basis. I'm sorry, but it just smells a little corrupt, frankly. You know, a business pays rent to a city, and the business wants the rent set aside in a specific fund to basically benefit the business. When
She's referring to Sharkies, how Sharkies pays us the rent. They want the rent put in a box, a fund set aside, so that you can enhance the pier, repair the pier, which in turn increases their revenue. And she's saying that doesn't sound right to me.
And that when that rent is a city asset that should benefit all of us. And I'm sorry, but if Sharky's Rents comes in and they need something with the pier and we need a fire department, a fire truck, well, then the pier repair should compete with the fire truck. And personally, many of our residents would think that public safety is higher. You're shorting public safety.
Especially if you look at the fact that, just say what Alex said himself, the majority of those citizens that use the pier are non-city residents. So if you go to the city residents and say, okay, we got $700,000, should we put it towards the pier or towards a fire truck? Obviously, since the majority don't use the pier, but they do want and use the fire truck, where are they going to go? Hence, Hollick would never come to the residents with that option.
Safety, the more we carve out these other little funds of money for basically a special interest, because the pier, Sharkies, that business is a special interest. It does not, many people that live here do not go to that pier. We have very old residents, but everybody that lives here benefits from our fire department, particularly our EMS. So, and our fire department is going out with EMS, and they're saving lives too.
Well, we'll come back and visit this at a future meeting. I just wanted to get a discussion going, get your mindset toward it. Mr. Fraze?
I kind of get stuck on what you said, John, about the buckets of blood being thrown in the water and chumming. I don't know if we have time constraints like after sunset or things like that, but if you think about blood, that liquid can be carried in, if it's done during the daytime, it can be carried in closer to the shore. And now we're jeopardizing the lives of people in the water.
Right.
So I know we can postpone decisions on some issues, but I think we need to do something about that. And we should make a decision today, whether we put up signs or timing where they can't do it. But we shouldn't be jeopardizing human lives so a few people can catch sharks.
I agree. It's noticed.
I'm deeply concerned about this. I did not know about the blood. I heard about the chum, and I was still concerned about that, especially the time frame.
I have not personally looked into the scope of what the city can do as far as fishing regulations. So I'm unaware of what you said about FWC essentially preempting some of this. And I was going to come back around at the end of this and just clarify what you were seeking from city attorney's office. And what I took was to be your scope of what you can do for fishing regulations at the pier.
That's what I was gonna recommend, that we make sure that the city attorney gets involved. And I talked with a couple of East Coast, Juno Beach and Melbourne Beach. Talked with them about their piers. And they do have some regulations, but you really have to watch what you do, because there's a whole group out there that if you do it wrong, you got a lawsuit against the city. So we definitely have to have the city attorney involved in this. We can't just jump into it and say, don't do this and don't do that, unless there's a legitimate way to say that. Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, Mr. Fraser, I totally agree with you. This is a safety issue, and I don't think we could be waiting for a budget or anything like that. And I would support having the city attorney get into it, and we try to get some kind of a recommendation this year.
Maybe we could just, since the pier's closed and we're gonna do an emergency prep on it, we can.
Okay, this is the part. Whoops, this is the part where Hollick says, "Let's just put up a sign that says you can walk but not fish anymore."
Say pier is open for walking but not fishing,
There you go.
until we can get some resolution on this. People aren't fishing on it now. Just leave it closed to fishing. If you close it, you can close it to all fishing.
Silence, dead silence. Okay, so that's it. What do you guys think? That's the conversation that took place on the Venice Pier. This has been Frankie Abbruzzino with the Scoop News.